So I'm building the product for designers, and we are prepping to launch the beta in about a week. And so I figured it'd be cool to bring you along on the journey for kind of what my day looks like as I'm leading up to launching this beta. And I'll also talk a little bit more about what are all the things that I'm doing prior to the beta and kind of give you guys a little checklist so you can get a behind the scenes of that. First, let's go grab some coffee and then we'll sit back and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, better when you mad me. Yeah, you got better when you mad me. Admit it. You said.
Got up to this coffee shop, but there might not be any seats, so we might have to audible and go to a different one because it looks pretty fucking full in this parking lot. Pretty much every seat is taken, or not every seat, but every parking spot. So not high hopes. If we do that, we'll just find someone nearby. I do got to crank through some client work, but we'll get there. Got the cold brew. Okay, when we were at the coffee shop today, we were working on doing some client work, prepping this client for their first ever app launch. So we were working on some of the screens for that prior to going to the App Store. One of the things specifically that I was working on was creating these App Store screenshots based on the iOS app designs that I created a few weeks ago. Previously, they only had ones from the marketing folks, so I went in there and created some visual polish, talked about them, and created those assets so that we could submit those over to the iOS Apple Store. That was a pretty successful focus time. So, number one, the first thing we're doing is making genuine connections on LinkedIn with our target users. So for me, in my product, Rally, that is product designers working on like startup teams that need to communicate feedback to their developers. And so the reason I'm doing this as the main thing leading up to beta is because I want to build genuine connections with people and get to know them more so that when I do launch this beta, it's not just like a cold random stranger that they saw online, but rather we've engaged a bit on socials. They're getting value from my content, and then they will be more likely to want to provide feedback on the beta product. So next thing up that I'm doing is I'm actually going through my LinkedIn and going through my wait list, and I'm creating a specific list of people that I want to get on the platform to provide feedback. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this, I'm being very specific with who I'm asking, specifically because we're limiting it to about 25 to 30 people in our beta, and I would love to have a handful of those people be larger influencers to help with that reach. And so I'm not expecting anything out of them except, hey, go try the tool. But in an ideal world, I have a good handful of those being influencers in the space who will go use the tool. If they like it, they can then share it, and then that creates organic reach and is able to spread the word about the tool more and more. And if they don't like it, that's okay. It gives me feedback. But that's kind of what I'm doing is I'm taking, all those genuine connections that I make on LinkedIn, and then I'm trying to make those into then a list of people that I can reach out to and say, hey, we're launching, would love you to try the tool out. No expectations, but give it a shot. Let me know, and go from there. Which honestly is very different from the last time I launched a product, because last time I launched a product, I did not do it that route. Instead, I just did the public launch. There was no closed beta, there was nothing, and it was very tough to get feedback. And so that's one of the things that I'm pivoting with on this time around is trying to do a closed beta to get really, really good feedback from people early on, and then do more of a public launch. So that was a pretty great meeting. We just got out of it, met with the developer. We just went through the product of where it's at today, and we went through and we created a list of action items of all the things that we need to get done, any things that we missed from the design front, any things in terms of admin work, any missing pieces of the product that are still kind of like in limbo. There's a bunch of things, setting up back-end stuff so we can test in staging, and a handful of other. So the next thing up that we're doing is we are preparing social posts and emails to go out. So I'm prepping an email to go out to everybody that is on the signed up for the wait list to say, hey, we are launching in beta. I want to specifically invite you to the product because you showed interest. And all I ask for in exchange is feedback. I want to see if each one of them will get onto a call with me and at least provide me feedback as a part of the free beta. Of things that I'm doing is I am creating some social content to go out as a blast. Even though we are not publicly launching, I am going to do like, hey, the beta is now live, and that is very intentional because we are putting the site no matter what. And when somebody goes in and they create an account, if they are not specifically invited to the beta by me, we will still take in their name, their email, and then they'll be able to go as if they were creating the account. But then when they get past that login screen, we'll just say, hey, thank you for your interest. We're in a closed beta right now. If you would, we will reach out to you as soon as more spots are open. And so it's kind of like gauge interest of people and collect emails to be like, hey, okay, there's more and more people that want to use this product, and just continue to validate it. And then also when we do a public launch, we will then have a whole bunch of emails and people to reach out to and contact and say, hey, we're now live, come enjoy the product.
Yeah, talking to my mirror like I love you so much, curving on my critics like I heard you, so what? You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. Tally all the I ever gave on my head. Lately I've been living like I can't take a loss. They ain't wanna help me, that's what made me a boss. You can't kill my confidence.
All right, so now that we're on the topic of website, we just briefly touched on it, but we're preparing the website for launches. So what I did is I've gone in and I've created a Framer template, and I've been going through and kind of replacing our imagery, replacing the copy, putting it towards Rally so that can be up and ready to go for the launch. For when people go there, they can get information about it, understand more about the product, even if it is not public. We've been uploading assets. I've been switching out the colors and the fonts and all that kind of stuff to go along with that to match our style. And so that's been one of the things that we're pushing towards prior to beta. And yeah, there's not much more to that, but we're just preparing the website for launch so that people get information. All right, and so the last thing we're doing before launch is we are doing a QA of the product itself. And so we're going through and we are making sure that we find any bugs, any sort of design issues, any copy changes that need to be made, if there's any colors that are off, anything in that realm, to make sure that when we do send it out to people to go in and start using, that things aren't broken and they're running smoothly. And so I'm going through and creating a list of items. The developer's also going through and making sure that there's no issues on their end. And it's ironic because the tool that we are building, Rally, is actually a tool to help with this part of the process, because it's always kind of a pain in the ass. So oddly enough, I'm doing the old way of doing it, which is going to be going through, taking screenshots, screen recordings, putting it into a spreadsheet, and then we're just going to have to figure it out from there. But after launch, we'll be able to dogfood our own product and use that going forward. But that's one of the last steps, and probably the longest step in this whole process of preparing for launch, is going through and making sure that everything is working right after months of hard work. But we're super excited to have it up. Hopefully you found this helpful. This is kind of just like a behind the scenes of what realistically is going into leading up to the product. So if you like this video, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. If you're new here, my name is Wyatt. I'm building in public while I grow a design agency and a software product for designers. So if you like that kind of content and this resonated with you, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next week.